Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bedinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And today I'd like to show you how I made this card. In my team this month for December, we have a swap, and the swap challenge is a monochromatic card. And monochrome doesn't mean it all has to be exactly the same color, but it has to be in the same color tone families, and there can be little bits of another color. And so this is what I came up with, and I tried a couple of versions before I settled on this one, which I did not like. I did it in a much darker color, and I can show it to you here, and I really didn't like it. And I think if I were to do something like this again, I'd have to change the color tones to be quite a bit more contrast between the different tones. And when I tried it with a lighter color, I liked it a whole lot better. So what you need to make this card is you really only need 2 pieces and some scrap. So I'm using Powder Pink and 8.5 by 5.5 scored and folded at 4 1/4. And that's for our card base here. And then I have another piece of powder pink that is 4 by 5 1/4. And I'll show you what I did to get this background on here. And I'm going to bring this up so you can see it. And I think you can see it if I shift it in the light here. That is embossed, an embossed background. And I used one of our background stamps. Okay, so let's just get started and I'll show you exactly what I did. I'm going to start by working on this piece here. And I am using our background stamp called Marbled. And what I did was I took my VersaMark, yes, this is the VersaMark pad I was using, it's nice and juicy. And I covered the whole background stamp here with VersaMark very generously. And here we go, we've got that piece done. Then I'm taking my stamp, my paper here, and using my embossing buddy. And the reason I'm using the embossing buddy, because there's an awful lot of ink on this, is one of the beauties of this background is where it doesn't emboss. And so I want to keep the extraneous powder away from the places that I don't want it to emboss. And so I'm going to do that. All right. Then next, let's see, there's my piece of scratch paper. So on something like this, what I do is take my piece that's going to be embossed and put it directly on the stamp. And with this, all I want to make sure I do is get the stamp completely on the paper completely on the stamp. And then I'm going to rub this to get the pressure that I want to make sure that I get a good image. And I'm using just a piece of blank copy paper here so that I can get those edges really good here. And it's very important once you start this process to have enough of a hold on this piece of paper so that it doesn't shift. Otherwise, you'll end up doing the other side because your pattern will cross over and you don't want that to happen. So then I'm going to hold down now this side and put my scratch paper on this side and make sure I get a good image, particularly along those edges. Now, it's probably overkill, but I like to be very careful about how I take my piece off of my stamp too, because I don't want any extraneous VersaMark where I don't want it. So I used my pokey tool to pick up an end and then pick up the whole thing. And there we go. We've got our image on here now. And so what I'm going to do is I'm using clear powder because clear powder will preserve the color underneath and darken it. So it comes out really very, very pretty. So I'm going to get my piece covered with my clear powder here. And you can't see, but I can, that it's clearly missed the parts that are not VersaMarked, which is exactly what I want. Okay, I'm going to turn this around carefully and get powder on the other end of this, and make sure I get every little spot covered. And tap off any excess, and here we go. So now I'm going to take my heat tool, and I'll quiet the video while I heat set this clear powder. Okay, I think I've got all of the edges on this now, and I'm going to set that aside and let it cool just a bit. And part of the reason that I chose this color was because I had this pretty ruffled ribbon. What is it called exactly? Powder Pink mini ruffled ribbon. And it is so pretty, and I hadn't used it yet. So I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to use the powder pink and do this in this color. So I need a length of ribbon here to go across my card. And I'm going to use my dot runner to put a little bit of glue on the back side of this ribbon so it'll stay down. My experience with this ribbon is that it wants to kind of puff up and move around. So I'm going to use that. And I set this down here about, I don't know, 3/4 the way down the panel. And just put it in place. And then put some tape on the back side here to hold my ribbon down. And then just anchored my ribbon back across here and snip off any excess. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Now, so this piece is now ready to go on the front of my card. And really, this card is quite simple. And I wanted to mix it up just a little bit. So what I did was I took a piece of this designer series paper, and it's such beautiful paper. And right now the name isn't coming to me, but I'll put it on the screen for you. And I used our flower punch here. And what I tried to get was some tones of pink and white in my flower here, and I put 2 of them together here, and I'll show you exactly what I did to get them to have the dimension that I wanted. I'll bring back my card so you can see. And I used my bone folder here to curl the petals down on both of the flowers. And then I used my pierce mat to take these with my little, the back side of my pokey tool, and to push those centers down. You can do it in your hand as well if you don't have a pierce mat, so that you get that nice dimension on your flower. And then I put one on top of the other and offset the leaves. And I used glue dots to help me get mine down here. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set a couple of glue dots on the bottom of one of these right here, and then put that into place right here just above my ribbon, just because I didn't want to take the chance it might not stick well to the ribbon. And there's one, and then I'm going to take a couple of glue dots on this second one. Probably one would do, but I wanted to make sure it stayed put. So 2 glue dots on the back of that one, and offset those petals on my flower. And then, I don't know if you've seen this in the catalog, but we have these are Petal Pink. And as long as I'm using the pinks here, I ended up using Powder Pink, I used Blushing Bride, and these Petal Pink jewels. They're just so pretty. So what I did was I took one of the largest of the jewels and made it the center of my flower. Then I used this punch, and I cut out 2 pieces of cardstock, and in this case I did those in Powder Pink, and this one I think I'm going to change up and do these in Blushing Bride, so that we get a little bit of a contrast from the lighter pink. So I have those pieces, I have my flower, and then I also used our sprig punch here, and I cut out a bunch of these sprigs using, again, my Blushing Bride. And so I'm going to cut out 2 here, and I've already got a few of them cut out here, and I think we're ready now to just put this, oh, I have to do my stamping. And I did use my Blushing Bride ink because I thought it would show up a little bit better. The Powder Pink is awfully light, and I wanted to make sure that my note showed up. Okay, so here's my Just a Note, and this is from the Flourishing Phrases stamp set, and I'm going to center this on my label here and get my Just a Note down. Here we go. And then I thought this set of gems also had one that was about the same shape as this. Isn't that fun? So I took this little diamond shape item and put it on the bottom of my Just a Note sentiment here. Okay, so now we're ready. I'm going to start assembling my card. And this is just a matter of putting all of my elements in place. This piece I want on here, roughly about there, and I'm going to push that down. And then before I get any further, I'm going to mount this one on this card, and I'm going to use lots of snail here and get this placed on the card. This has a little bit of a bend to it, and it's very stiff now that it's got the embossing on it. So I want to use lots and lots of snail to get this on here. And then it's a matter of getting this centered on my card. There we go. All right, so there we go. Now on this piece, I raised this piece up on dimensionals, and I have some minis here, so I'll just use those. Full-size ones would be, of course, just fine, but this is what's right out on my desk. So I'm just going to use a few of these. Put that just off-centered and over a bit on here to put my sentiment. And then what I did was I nipped off the bottoms of several of these sprigs here so that I had little individual leaves so that it looked like they were more a part of the flower. So I did that, I think, with 3 of these, and these last 2 I will use on the inside of the card. So on these, all I did was put, this is best with the dot runner, a little bit of glue on the bottoms of these sprigs and tuck them in around my flower. Okay, there we go. Fuss, fuss, fuss. But, you know, you're not happy until you're happy with the placement of some of these things. Now, on the inside, since this is a note card, mostly I wanted to leave it blank. So what I did was I took my 2 remaining sprigs and I put tape runner on the back of both of them and used my fingers to take off any little excess. And these are Blushing Bride, so they're just slightly different on the tone here to one another. So I'm going to put these so that they cross over one another here. And then as a finishing touch, what I did is I took another of these large jewels. This is going to make this a little lumpy for mailing, but the gem is so pretty and it so completes what I wanted to do on this card that I felt like it was definitely worth it. That little glue dot came loose, so I'm going to put that onto place there, like that. And there, I think that makes just a lovely little note card. And that is the project for the day. A really pretty simple little project and a monochromatic card, something a little different, something we don't see, a different kind of background. And so that's it for me today. It's December, so let's see, the prize winner for November was Dory Decker, and Dory won the Country Home stamp set, designer series paper, galvanized paper, and the chickenware elements, which you can't get anymore. So congratulations, Dory. And then for this month, I'm doing a $45 shopping spree on me at the end of the month out of the new catalog. So that's it for me. Thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel today. I do so appreciate it. And all of the material here can be purchased on my website, www.lbedinger.stampinup.net. And I'll be back soon with more projects and more cards. Bye.